we'll be talking a little bit about sustainable living in the context of individuals and communities. So दोनों ही तरह से हम लोग थोड़ा सा explore करेंगे इसको. And हम जो काम करते हैं, the work we do is mostly in the field of environmental education. So हम लोगों को environmental education सिखाते हैं, but we use responsible travel as a medium to do it. तो हम कोई क्लासरूम में बैठ के नहीं करते, हम लोगों को ले जाते हैं लद्दाख, मेघालय, दूसरे जगह, और वहाँ पे हम साथ में एक साथ सीखते हैं एनवायरमेंटल एजुकेशन के बारे में. तो इसके बारे में भी हम थोड़ा सा बात करेंगे. We will talk about that. We thought we start off with a very quick introduction, maybe just 10-15 seconds for each person. Just what do you do, and maybe one word about one concern of yours, right, about environment. एक अगर कोई कंसर्न हो आप अगर शेयर कर सकते हो तो हमें भी कुछ कॉन्टेक्स्ट मिल जाए. ठीक है. सो who wants to start? Sreedhar, do you want to start first?
Yeah, I'm fine. So am I audible?
Yes.
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 So first of all, thanks for involving us in this session. So looking forward eagerly to be a part of this. And I would even like to know your introduction, because I couldn't get clearly as in where you all belong. So I have been a part of BRM through the Community Connect Fellowship program, and 2 or 3 of the Fools Forum I have attended. So this Fools Forum was very special because here we are getting some renowned speakers like you all. So it's really very exciting. And like I'm an engineer by profession. I stay in Mumbai. Apart from that, I have my own NGO where I deal with students, basically the underprivileged kids, where we basically focus on education. So as you rightly said, environment is a major factor which nowadays is neglected in all sense. So basically the use of plastic and people turning vegan and all those things have always been a discussion around in my forums. So I would like to know more about all this aspect. Thank you.
If you guys don't pick yourselves, I'll have to pick you.
Hi. Hi, Tom here.
Oh, very hard. Okay. Yeah.
Is someone else speaking? Should I go on? Okay. Yeah, okay. So I am basically from Mysore. I am a software engineer by nature, yeah. But basically into wildlife surveys and all that. And I even go on treks and stuff. I've even started taking people on treks wherein we educate them how to actually stay in sync with the nature. So my the only issue I feel is humans are being really very negligent about whatever we are doing right now. So yeah, I think we have to be more cautious and think about what we are doing before doing it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kshitija, I think you were talking. Do you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Kshitija, and about me, currently I'm working into waste management here in Mumbai. Other than that, I've been living a slow, sustainable. I've been trying to live that kind of life, the whole zero waste lifestyle that has been booming, and a lot of people are talking about it. So I've been exploring these ideas, trying to bring some changes within me. So with when I saw this, the session is happening, and going through journeys with meaning website, I've been reading about them. So that was quite interesting, the way you guys started and the way the journey has been for you guys. So yeah, I just wanted to hear more from you and understand how it has been, get to know more. So that's about it. And yeah, really excited for this session. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Pankati. I'm from Khandwa, Madhya Pradesh. Um, right now, I finished my engineering and I'm having some time to decide what to do next. Till then, I'm volunteering with Blue Ribbon. And what concerns me about nature is one, here at my place, I don't see many trees. So just how do I do that? Like just how do I just educate or just tell people how we have more trees? And I've seen two trees cut, just very big trees cut here, and that just made me very sad. And also about the plastic, single use plastics, how do I tell them not to use them? Because I've seen a lot of people using plastics here, always single use. So that's one concern been there from long, from at least from these months when I'm here. um I want to tag Sid to go next.
Hi, my name. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, Sid. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I turned on my video a bit late. I was like quite up to something. My name is Siddharth, and I am a self-designed learner, and currently working on a project that how can I support Mother Nature? How can I uh, how can I learn to coexist with the nature? So I just started a project to create a food forest at my farm, and with environment I have been like from childhood I have been very curious that what this earth forms do all the day, what these birds do, how do they communicate, how do trees communicate, and like very excited, and how we are evolving together. And so that's had been my learning, that been my curiosity, my learning. And so yeah, this is up to these days. I've been to many forests in Himachal, and I love trees. I love dancing with the trees, hugging trees, and uh, also getting to know more about it, uh, scientifically and spiritually both. uh, I feel so happy to be here, to be part of this call, and would love to hear more about Neha and Vinod's work. So that's the environment thing which brings me to this session. We feel very grateful. And do I need to tag but somebody, or
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it
just
smooth?
tag.
Yeah, you can just take one more person's name.
Yeah.
I will like to tag Nikhil if he haven't shared it yet.
Hi everyone. I'm Nikhil. Currently, I'm working in the biomedical sector. So I work as a designer for making surgeries easier for the doctors and the patients as well. But apart from that, I really also like traveling, especially, unfortunately, every monsoon, although I do like trekking, I make it a point to go to the Sayadris and take at least one trek in the Sayadris every monsoon. And this has been my habit since I was perhaps in primary school. I've been trekking. But unfortunately, in this lockdown, I think I'll have to give it a miss. And a lot of people I know from the trekking community will have to give it a miss. Uh, so, other than that, I also do like traveling. So, I try to squeeze my work as well as business trips across the country in such a way so that I get a couple of days to explore that particular place where I'm going. And although I have been very conscious about what modes of transport and etc to use when traveling in local areas, how to be a more sensitive participant while traveling in those areas, but I have never formally explored it, and I take this session as an opportunity to probably start that much more consciously and perhaps in a uh, targeted way, I think. So I'm looking forward to this session.
Thank you.
I just missed the few minutes at the start. Are we done with everybody, or do I have to tag someone?
No, I think Anita has just written on the group. Yeah. So,
Okay.
what about Suma?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Suma. I'm working as a corporate communication officer. I stay in Mumbai. I was a part of Media Lab Fellowship with Arnaz, and I was also a part currently of Life Space Design with Kajal and Abhishek. So
Right.
there where I learned that like corporate is not something which I am in search of. Like I really want to do something for the world. So I like selected your session because it was mentioned that journeys with meaning. So even I am in like search of some meaning. So I thought I'll be learning a lot from you. That's it. Actually, that video is off because there is heavy rain here, and like I shouldn't miss this session, so I have kept it. Binay Fair Barucha ma'am.
Vinny.
Beneath a
Hi, my name is Benaifer, and I'm a freelance photographer based in Bombay. And I luckily got introduced to Neha and Vinod like quite a few years ago, I think, and I'm a big fangirl. I love what they do. So, and I think at some point after this horrific nightmare is over, I will go on a trip with them to learn stuff. But as of now, I think this seems to be the best opportunity to interact with them. So yeah, I mean, I'm also worried about like the pandemic has really exposed a lot of deep inequalities in society, which we already knew, but I think it's sort of torn it open, and I think we really need to rethink how we think we are going to go back to normal. What is normal actually going to be? And I have a feeling that normal will be double the speed now of the economy, because we've lost so much time. So the only way you can like now pump more money into the economy is by just ransacking the environment, and that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen across the world. So I don't think people will have learned their lesson, but I think we should all slowly start learning our own lessons. So I think, anyway, Neha and Vinod, I give it back to you guys. I want to hear you guys speak. So yeah.
I think, has Abhishek spoken or not yet?
No, I haven't. So I can go on if you can hear me properly.
Yeah, maybe if you could just hold up the microphone closer to your mouth, it will help.
Yes. Okay. Hi everyone. Apologies. My camera doesn't seem to be working. So all right. So I'm Abhishek. I am from Chennai, and I am an environmental educator in a private school. So I've been doing this for 2 years now, and also the prospect of you both talking about environment education through travel and all that seemed very exciting. So I've decided to join your session today. So looking forward to that. The one concern bit, if I may add, is that there's a deep part of me which also wants to do conservation, like actively like get into the forest and all of that, and do conservation. But I'm sort of doing education for now, so I'm sort of torn between whether I should do conservation or education. So that's like a personal struggle, and then sort of compounded by the government and authorities' total disregard for the environment and the destruction that goes on. So seeing that every day, it sort of makes me want to do my bit in whatever way possible. And there's a big part of me which wants to sort of uh, do conservation and education. So I'm sort of torn between that. So thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Okay, so I think we are all done. So we'll start with our part of it right now. So I thought we'll break it up into three sections. One is the why, which is always the most important bit, the what, and the how. And since we have a limited amount of time, I also wanted to just add right in the beginning that Neha and I are open to conversations outside of this space as well. So in case you feel that your questions haven't been answered or you want something more, like you need to discuss something more, please feel free to take our email IDs and numbers from PRM and reach out to us outside of this space. We are happy to continue the conversation. Yeah. So very quickly, I think I'll just share my why as to why we started doing, why I started working in this space. So interestingly enough, you have a little later Leslie who's going to be singing a song for all of us. And so it's wonderful to have him here because he's my mentor. So Leslie is the very first person in the world who taught me to be interested in environment and ecology and start looking at what is going on around the world. So we were part of a youth-run NGO called Association of Youth for a Better India. This was way back in 1999, 2000, around that time. And some of you were probably just born at that time, maybe, right? Yeah. So that was the time when I met Les. I was about 25 at that time myself. And like the kind of things he spoke about really blew my mind because I had never thought about it. Living in a city, I was very used to an urban lifestyle, hadn't been exposed to nature and things like that. So suddenly when I met Les and he started talking about his experience with farming, his experience of going into forest, I realized that there was so much I didn't know. And like I started traveling a little bit with him. We started doing workshops and just the whole, I would say that my learning and my education really happened after I met Leslie in this whole space. Before that, there was pre-Leslie space, which was all school and college and all that. And then post-Leslie, which is the work I've been doing in the last 20 years is, I would definitely put it on him. Like he's the man who inspired me. So for me, that was the why, that I had no clue about what was going on around the rest of the country, the rest of the world. And like he introduced me to all of these ideas in a very practical way. We also went traveling and we learned about it over there. And I'll tell you a little bit more after Neha shares her why as well.
Okay. So I grew up in Dadar, in the most chaotic and busiest part of the city. And I studied there and I worked there. So for the 29 years of my life, I lived in Dadar. And yeah, when I started working, I think traveling by local trains and just looking around and outside, it just used to depress me, I think, towards like the end, around 25, 26. I was feeling really helpless that I'm not being able to do anything for the garbage in the city, the pollution, the chaos, the crowd, the anger in the trains and everything. And just around that time when I was trying to look for solutions, a friend sent me an invite for Journeys with Meaning trip to Ladakh. And I went on the trip not knowing what was going to be in store, but suddenly it was just, it was such a huge, like a learning experience for me because, I mean, with the limited resources that the people of Ladakh have, the kind of things in their lifestyle and the way they live and are genuinely happy people, just brought me to a new perspective and changed my whole perspective of living, how to live. So I came back and I decided that I'm going to work with Vinod, and of course later we got married and that happened. But that's how things changed for me. I realized that even with limited resources or whatever, the harsh winter conditions that they live in, they've carved a beautiful life for them out of that condition. So I thought that there are solutions around us everywhere. And so maybe just for me, that experience helped me learn. And so I thought I wanted to create that experience for more people. And that's how I started actually Journeys with Meaning Juniors, which was taking school students to these places and learning from them. So we have, I'll explain a little bit more about what we do on JwM Juniors. But this is how I came to sustainable living.
And so both of us had an interesting experience with the weather, which actually also drove us to do what we do. So for me, it was back in 2006 when on my first visit to Ladakh. I'd gone there for a conference on localization, which is a kind of counter to globalization and economic globalization, as you call it. So I'd gone for this conference and I got caught in a cloudburst in Ladakh. So there was this massive cloudburst, and there are only two highways that go into Ladakh. One is via Srinagar, one is via Manali, and both of them got washed away, parts of it. So I was basically stuck there with very little money. I had a couple of friends with me, but we didn't have too much cash on us and all that. And we had to somehow stay there for another 10, 12 days until the roads were rebuilt. So that experience actually was my kind of the catalyst for me changing. Because I couldn't go anywhere, I spent most of that time just helping people out there with the cloudburst affected. Like there were a lot of floods that had happened, the fields were washed away, bridges were washed away. The house that we were staying in, there was a stream right outside, and we were constantly worried that the stream might swell up and come into the house. Things like that. And that's when I realized, when I talked to the local people, that really the Ladakhis were not responsible for what had happened. They were living a lifestyle which was very sustainable and very earth friendly. And yet they were the ones being affected by the cloudburst the most. But why was the cloudburst happening? It was because of climate change, and climate change is largely driven by how we live in the city. So for me, that was the big lesson I took back from there, that how I live in the city, what I do in the city is directly leading to this impact. And it's causing people who are living in a very unfriendly way to go through so much trouble. And I decided then and there that that's not fair. It's not okay for me to live in a way which causes trouble to other people. So I need to work on this. I need to make sure that I'm living more sustainably. And I need to make sure that I also communicate this message to other people about living sustainably. So that's where the idea for Journeys with Meaning was first born in 2006. And I'm happy to say it's been 14 years and we've been going strong since then. That one incident has, kept me, like every time I think about it, it makes me want to continue and not let go. And as you're all aware, like you see so much happening right now, so the work is not going to end anytime soon. We all, in fact, have to join in and chip in and make sure that we solve stuff. Neha, do you want to add about your?
Well, I also had a similar experience in 2014. I got stuck in the Kashmir flood. And luckily I was with a friend, Vinod's friend who stayed there, and after 3 or 4 days the flood water started coming into their house. So then they moved me to the friend's in-laws house, who knew nothing about me, but they just took such good care of me. So not just the environmental part, but even the people part, that people who go through these things are so warm and so they go out of their way to just take care of you. Those kind of things I think have just made my will stronger to work on these issues.
So I hope that gives you some context about why the two of us have been working in this. There's of course plenty more, a lot and what we see around us. But I'd like to move on to the what. So what we've been doing is also one of the things that we did over the last few years is to move from Bombay to Goa, because we felt that while we've both grown up in Bombay and we consider it our home, we love the city, but it was also painful for us to see what it was turning into. Those of you who live in Bombay, you understand वहाँ का क्या हाल अभी हो चुका है, and it was not something we could bear to see. And we realized that for us to be sane and to be able to give energy to our work, we need to get out. So हम लोग निकल गए. We came to Goa 2 years ago, and it's been wonderful because scenery outside, just outside our house actually, it's very green. There's a forest nearby. We've counted about 55, 56 different kinds of birds from our balcony and our window. बॉम्बे में क्या कौवे और कबूतर ही दिखते थे, यहाँ पे इतने सारे दिख रहे हैं अभी. So a lot of learning is happening, and the other thing that we've been doing is we've done, like, our work is something which is a big part of our life, right? So what we've done is we've made sure that we're not only working on sustainability. So Journeys with Meaning जो है वो sustainability को, but also sustainably. So जो Journeys with Meaning का काम होता है वो भी हम लोग sustainably करने की कोशिश करते हैं. So responsible travel जो हम लोग बात करेंगे थोड़ी देर बाद, that is our way of making sure that whatever work we are doing is also happening in a sustainable manner, and it's not happening in an unsustainable manner. So that's one of the big things that we are doing.
Yeah, but I just also want to add that it wasn't an easy thing, the move, because we have all our family back in Bombay, and so it was a little difficult to make that decision. But I think health-wise also it was starting to affect both of us. Having traveled to places like Meghalaya and Ladakh and come back to Bombay, I would invariably forget. So which is why we decided, and we thought that our work doesn't require us to be in Bombay. We can still continue working on issues that we feel dear to us, but we can be in a better place to be healthy and then work on these issues. But we had to make that move, and we are very happy. It's been really nice that we made that move because we're closer to nature, learning from it every day.
And so in the future, our what includes a few things. So one is we want to live on the land. So the idea is to move, from consuming stuff that other people produce. We want to start producing a lot of the things that we consume. So growing our own food, for example, we started small. We'll just tell you a little bit about it. But living on the land is definitely something that we are aspiring towards. Then we'd like to start teaching more about sustainable living. So trips के जरिए तो होते ही हैं through journeys of meaning, but we also want to create learning spaces through which this can happen. So जैसे लोग चाहते हैं कि they want to come and spend some time with us, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months, but come and stay over here and work with us on these issues. I think that will be like really nice for a lot of people to get a hands-on experience. And it also helps to build a community कि लोग साथ में एक साथ रह के काम कर रहे हैं. So that also adds a lot of value to how people learn as well. And both of us are writing books on this, so we're not yet published authors or anything like that. But रोज बैठते हैं, मतलब आधा एक घंटा के लिए भी sit and devotedly write a little bit. So hopefully in the next few months you'll maybe see one or two books coming out from our table. And it'll be nice if you can also prod us and push us a little to not be lazy, and to continue writing. So those of you who know us, definitely you should. So वो ये सब बातें चल रही हैं अभी and काम चल रहा है. And in terms of the how, I think we'll just break it into individual and community. What we thought is like, so some of the choices we can talk about some of the choices we have made. So one is we've chosen to live in a place in Goa where the society itself has solar water heaters, for example, or rainwater harvesting, things like that, which in a city like Bombay हो सकता है, but थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है. यहाँ पे thankfully there are more such spaces. So that was the first choice we made. At least even if we are not living in an earth-friendly house entirely right now, at least शुरुआत तो हो सकती है. So we've made that conscious choice, and we are living in a building which actually has these facilities available. Two, we've chosen to be away. I'm sure you're all imagining us lying down in a hammock with a bottle of beer in our hands and stuff like that. But we are about half an hour and about 8 kilometers away from that. So we've chosen to live in a village near a forest so that we don't have to engage with the touristy side of Goa as much. It's a much quieter part, and it's a part of Goa that we didn't even know existed. Like, I'm one of those rare Mumbaikars who has come to Goa exactly once in 20 years. Everybody else goes 3 times a year, but मैं 1996 में गया था ला, और फिर सीधा 2016 में एक बार आया था. And luckily for me, I missed that whole beach part and all that, and I came straight to this. So we consider ourselves very lucky that we are experiencing the other side of Goa. And we've been learning a lot from animals and insects. Believe it or not, कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. घर में what is that thing that insect? A mud dauber. This is an insect that came flying into our house 2 years ago and started building a mud nest on the back of our chair. And that was a huge amount of learning. पहले to know that such an insect existed, and then to see it coming every day with mud and building its nest, then to see it coming with caterpillars every day to stuff into that nest as food for its young.
Yeah.
ये सब घर में बैठे-बैठे हमें दिख रहा है. So पहले time like we are learning so much. Then we went and read up on it, and we were like, awesome, this is brilliant to see.
And it was interesting because every morning at 7 o'clock when we would open the balcony door, the insect would come. So it would be waiting for us to open the door. And so I think initially it would make a few tries to come in and bang against the wall. So when we bang against the glass, so when he would open the window, he would hover around to see if he's banging or not, or to see, and then come in and go out. And then once he knows, okay, it's all open, now I can go fly in and out. Then she would just be like at it through the day, coming and building it one by one, and then stuffing it with caterpillars. So it's been really nice. We've been seeing Baya weavers every day coming and picking the threads from a leaf to go and build their nest. Just been learning a lot just by just hearing sounds. We can now identify birds, we can identify animals. There's a civet cat that comes on our roof and leaves its poop around for us to know that it's there. So yeah, it's just been very grateful.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning happening just by being over here. And thankfully, Goa being a very small place, there are a lot of initiatives that are coming up. So we know a shop called Eco Posro, where it's a complete zero waste store. So you can bring your own containers over there, and there's no packaging over there. So you can go collect whatever you want, buy whatever you want in your own container. And they're doing very well, thankfully. So a lot of people are begun to purchase from there. Our plastic waste consumption is also, like, generation has come down drastically. We've just discovered another store over here where you can now fill up, like,
laundry
dishwashing liquid.
detergent or dishwashing soap or even floor cleaners. You take your own bottles and you refill it in there. They have a refill tank, so you refill it and bring it. So yeah,
it's a great way to avoid plastic waste and all of that. So which some of you are concerned about. So I think it's a great idea. You can also think of it as a business enterprise idea.
Although I have to admit that, yeah, these kind of stores, because they are in Goa, it's easier for us to access. But what we also found is that the local stores here are very happy if we just take a dabba and ask them to give 1 kg of rice, they give it to us free, like open in a dabba. So I think those are the things that, and they're very happy to do that. They're very happy when they say we don't want plastic, we give it to us in these bags or in dabbas. So maybe that's something that, like, I think we need to bring back, just get these shopkeepers to also give us things loosely so that they know that people are demanding it.
Like, we still have the old style market here. Mapsa market is like Dadar market. So whenever Neha feels homesick, that's where we go for a stroll and come back. But it has all these, like, shopkeepers sitting out on the streets and old shops from 1936 and all that. And, they have all these bags of grain and stuff around. It's beautiful to go to such places because they are also very open to us, just like she said, carrying our own containers and taking. Right? So moving on to, we also do a little bit of growing of herbs in our balcony, and we do a little bit of our composting and stuff like that. So that's been quite useful as well.
But that we were doing back in Bombay
as well, actually. Yeah. So we just brought a composter here and we've been continuing that. In terms of the community, we've done a bunch of things. We've always volunteered. So in Bombay, there's this wonderful organization called Green Souls that we've volunteered with for several years in Kharghar, Navi Mumbai. So they have their own farm over there, and we've helped a lot with the farming. We also learned a little bit of farming there. Then we started something called the playground, which was a way for our participants who come on these trips to get in touch with us later post the trip, and like we would create a space for them to just come together with us, continue learning with us, maybe try out experiments and things like that. So that was a community experiment we had tried out. And here in Goa, what we've done is there are a few organizations like Sensible Earth, which is a co-working space, but for people who are in the green space, sustainability space, we engage with them. We sometimes go and work with them over there. Then there's an organization we have kind of collectively started here with other organizations. It's called the Responsible Tourism Collective Goa. And what we're doing is 16 or 17 businesses which are in the tourism space. We're trying to come together to, promote tourism in a more sustainable way. And, hoping that like our friends in other cities, if they come to Goa, we try and encourage them to stay with local homestays, eat local food, food that is locally grown as well. So there's a wonderful organization called Saraya, which is just a few minutes away from us. So we often conduct our workshops there because they have these beautiful, earth houses, tree houses, and things like that. They grow their own vegetables. So ये सब हम लोग काफी कुछ करते हैं. And the organizations that we partner with collectively, so BRM here, we have Checkmall in Ladakh, Khayal in Ladakh, all of which are working in the space of sustainability or wildlife. There is Aranyak in Assam, Nature Conservation Foundation in a bunch of places. So we work with all these different organizations, and that's how Abhishek said the ecosystem of organizations. So we have built that around ourselves for the last 20 years, and we continue to build that. Right? So these are all the things: the why, the what, and the how. We'll also briefly talk to you about Journeys with Meaning itself, what we've been doing there. So since some of you are interested in environmental education, Abhishek, I'm looking at you, or at least at your box over there. But so Journeys with Meaning, essentially what we do is we create, we take learning journeys around the country to places like Ladakh and the Northeast and Sundarbans and all that, with the intention of exposing Indians, young Indians, older Indians, to India's most inspiring environmental solutions. So we feel that there are these amazing people and organizations doing some fantastic work around the country, which is not very well known, unfortunately. So हम लोगों को ले जाते हैं ऐसी जगह, we stay there with these organizations और उनसे सीखते हैं कि what are the challenges you're facing, how are you coping with it, what are the design principles that you've incorporated. So over the last 20 years, we've seen some amazing things like, for example, the living root bridges. I don't know if you've heard of the living root bridges in Meghalaya. Can I do a share screen? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm just going to share a screen and show you some pictures. Yeah, here you go. So here you can see the living root bridges. Yeah, can you see this? Yeah, so this is the living root bridges. It's a beautiful structure in Meghalaya where people build using trees. They plant trees on both sides and they
Of the river.
Yeah. And they just keep connecting it over the year. So one or two families keep putting the roots through bamboo shoots, and after 30-40 years, this kind of a bridge is built. And it may not look like much, but let me tell you, around 50 people can stand on this bridge very comfortably. Yeah, and it's the only it grows stronger over time. बाकी जो ceiling वगैरह है, the day it finished construction, the next day onward it starts decaying and deteriorating. These bridges grow stronger.
Because the roots keep growing, so it grows stronger.
Yeah, in fact, it's so strong that there are one or two bridges just for fun. They've built a double-decker bridge. So एक bridge के ऊपर दूसरा bridge है. So it's beautiful, how they've done it. And let me see what else. So this is a trek down to the living root bridges in Meghalaya. This is a beautiful tree. It's a 2,500-year-old juniper tree in Ladakh, which is still protected by the village.
They call it Amar Chitra. It's like the mother juniper. So they sort of start off any new initiative or any new journey that they're planning to take. They first go and offer their prayers to the tree and hug the tree, and then they start their new journey or new life. So that's how they worship it.
So, and imagine how powerful this is, that when you go to this tree, it's been around for 2,500 years. It's older than Jesus Christ, right? And people actually can go and touch a tree which is that ancient. And like, we've had such sacred experiences near this tree. When people go, many people start crying, many people start going quiet because they don't want to say anything because it's so powerful for them. And sometimes we just sit around the tree in silence for some time and let the tree speak to us, whatever it wants to tell us, right? And I think that's a big part of the kind of learning that we offer as this, that we don't have to keep talking all the time, but let nature speak to us.
And one of the most amazing things about it is that it's an evergreen tree. So when it snows in -20, -30 in Ladakh, the tree is green and it still has leaves. And
Quite coming to just be there in its rest. This is one of our old friends over there, Namgyal ji. He takes us on a walk around this village and talks to us about Ladakhi culture and Ladakhi experiences. And he's a very knowledgeable person himself. He's a retired school teacher. So we learn like a lot from people like him, because he may not be a trained teacher or something like that, but he's a very good storyteller. And the kind of stories he's told us, that they stay with us for years and years. So one of the stories he's told us about how they look at wealth in Ladakh. That they don't count it in terms of money. They look at it in terms of how much grain you have in your house, stored in your house. So a rich man is somebody who has 9 years worth of grain in their house. A middle class family has at least 6 years worth of grain. And even a poor person will have 3 years worth of grain. So that is how they measure their wealth in Ladakh, or at least used to. Right? So it throws open like a whole new perspective for us. See, how are we measuring wealth? What are we looking at it, and how are we looking at it, and what are we doing with it? So it's very beautiful to hear such stories from people like. And this is when we make our participants earn their lunch and dinner. So we make them work on the farm, and it's not easy work. So this village is at 13,000 feet, for example. It's a lovely village called Gya, and we go there in the summertime when they're harvesting their peas and barley, and this is barley actually. So we are helping with the harvest. So a lot of conversations happen around these things, and this lady over here who's wearing the black cap, she's a lady from Gurgaon who had never done this kind of work, and initially she was quite upset about being made to do this. But after doing this for some time, she actually said that now I know what effort goes into my daily roti. I just eat it so casually and sometimes throw it away, but now I know how much effort people put into it. And like she actually did the work and made sure that she's also learning from it. And yeah, so these are like when we were making momos at our homestay. So there's a lot of natural learning from our homestay hosts also. These momos were not particularly good because we made them, but it's working nicely. But it's a learning that we do. And these are the learning journeys that we take for children. So this is what we do where they give them experiments to do. Here they're learning about the strength of mud. And
we do a workshop on earth architecture because we stay in a school called Tech Mall over there. I'm not sure if everybody knows Tech Mall, but it's a school started by a gentleman called Sonam Mamchuk, and he actually has come up with the ice stupa artificial glacier concept as well. The school is amazing. It's an entirely solar-powered campus and built in a sustainable way. So they have experiment with different techniques of building. So there's rammed earth, there's fog, there's what else is there? Hay, straw bale construction. And so we do a workshop on earth architecture for our students to explain to them how strong these places are. Another important thing for these students is that when they come and live in Ladakh, a place like Ladakh where it's super cold outside, and then they live in these homes, it's extremely warm inside. So these buildings are built in a way when the temperatures outside are minus 30 degrees, the temperature inside the room is 15 degrees. So in winters, in extreme winters. So in summer, it's quite hot inside. So when we ask them to bring all these jackets and when we make them stay here, they're like, what is this? It's so hot. Why do you ask us to bring these jackets? But then when we take them to a village stay where it's a concrete house, they cannot tolerate that cold because then they realize how cold Ladakh is. And unfortunately, Ladakhis have now started building concrete houses based on the globalization and the things coming in. So these are the kind of things that they learn through experience. That they experience it for themselves. That mud houses keep you warm and warm, and then you go and live in a concrete house where it's super cold. We make them use the dry toilets. So these places have dry toilets where they don't use water, and those are things that that initially are very uncomfortable, but when they come back saying, every time we flush, we feel the cringe because now we know that we're wasting 15 liters of water with a flush each time. So yeah, those are the things that they immediately relate to when they are made to do those things instead of just making them sit in a classroom and explain it.
So just like jumping off from there, I wanted to say like what we do on the trips. So we feel that most of what's happening on the planet today is happening because of four disconnects. It may be a very simplistic view, but we say that the four disconnects are: one, the disconnect between humans and nature. I'm sure you all agree that we don't have enough exposure to nature as a civilization. I mean, there are certain people who get it, but most of us don't have that kind of access. The second disconnect is between urban humans, like people living in cities, and other human culture. So it's like, would you agree that we have more in common with people living in London and New York than we have with people living in, say, Meghalaya, like the Khasi villagers? Now, they are also fellow Indians, but do you feel that you are more connected to them, your lifestyle is like theirs, or is it similar to somebody in London? You can still talk about the sitcoms you watch together, you also watch Netflix, you also wear, Western clothes, we all use computers. So that was the big disconnect we felt. We don't even know how our own people live. And there are so many different ways of living. Just because we live in a certain way doesn't make it the right way. So the second disconnect is between urban humans and other human culture. The third disconnect is between our head and heart. I don't think I need to explain it much, but we all live from here mostly. ये बहुत कम है ना? So we try and change that around. That's why we say let's not learn from a professor. Let's learn from a tree. Let the tree speak to you, speak to your heart. Right? And fourth, the disconnect between our actions and the consequences that they lead to. तो हमने कुछ कर लिया, तो शहर में एसी चला दी, घर में it's too hot, एसी चला दी, but उसका असर क्या पड़ रहा है? Where is that energy coming from? If it's coming from a plant based somewhere else, वहाँ पे गर्मी बढ़ रही है, there's more of carbon emission. That leads to an increase in climate change.
Melting of glaciers.
That leads to melting of glaciers in Ladakh. एसी हमने चलाई है यहाँ पे बॉम्बे में, और असर पड़ रहा है लद्दाख में या कहीं और. And we've actually seen like people, that gentleman we showed you, Namgyaji. We asked him questions like, when you were a young boy, तब कितनी बर्फ पड़ती थी? And he would say that it used to come up to my neck, and now it's coming up to my ankles. Right? So this is not scientific data, but it's a genuine, authentic story from someone who's had that experience. He's 75 years old. So he says in the last, say, 50, 60, 70 years, इतना बदल गया है कि जो 4-5 फुट का बर्फ पड़ता था अभी hardly like 6 inches. Now that's a very worrying thing because Ladakh relies on glaciers. वहाँ पे there is no rain, and surprisingly भी बारिश भी शुरू हो गई है वहाँ पे. The good thing is maybe they get more drinking water. The bad thing is it washes away their houses because it's all built with mud. So ये सारे चक्कर हम लोग we talk about all. Thanks Arnav for sharing.
Away there?
Yeah, somebody has a question or comment?
Sorry, Washish away there? I didn't hear.
Sorry, I can't catch that. Can you just type it up?
You can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it. Washish away. You said washish away something. Washish away what?
Yeah, the houses get washed away because they're made of mud.
Okay.
So what happens is that अगर बारिश पड़ती है तो उनका घर, it just sort of dissolves in the mud. So it's very dangerous. So we are saying that climatic changes are happening because of how we live, but असर वहाँ पड़ रहा है. It's having an impact on such places. So these are the 4 disconnects that we talk about. We also go into a lot of depth. So the idea is not to just like surface level, but we make people volunteer in the farm so that you're getting a real life experience of how your food will be going. So we tell people, चलो shopping चलते हैं, and then they get ready thinking that हम लोग market जाने वाले हैं. Then we take them to the kitchen garden. कि चलो shopping करते हैं यहाँ से. So you can go collect your vegetables, pick out, learn from the lady of the house which vegetables to harvest and how. And for them, it's again like a different experience that we always think of what can we buy. And in these places, so then what can we buy? So there's so much it unpacks with so many questions, so many little ways of seeing that people realize that, oh, like I didn't know that ऐसा भी हम लोग देख सकते हैं. Broadly, like these are some things that we do. About how we work.
Yeah, I think like what I just said, that we do focus more on experiences so that they learn for themselves what's happening. So last year, actually in 2019, we took a group of students in May, and it rained heavily in Ladakh. It does not rain at all in Ladakh. It shouldn't be raining in Ladakh. It's a high altitude desert region. But it rained heavily, and the students saw it for themselves, and they were worried because that's not how it's supposed to be.
And in fact, because of the rain, the whole village started rushing to the monastery, which is up on a hill.
Because they thought it would.
If it washes away their houses, and it comes like a flash flood. So everybody started running to the monastery, and for us students to see that was very powerful. Another thing we do is like somebody talked about plastic waste and all that, and our groups are teenage kids from the cities. So you can imagine वो कैसे हैं. They are waiting for an opportunity to gobble up chips and Pepsi and Coke and all that. They're only like 15, 16 years old, so I wouldn't blame them for it. And school में मिलता नहीं है उनको, मतलब these are residential schools, so they don't get all this. So जैसे ही मौका मिल गया बाहर जाने का to travel, they're all waiting to consume all these things. So we let them consume it because we can't stop them anyway. But what we do is we take them to Sekmol, जहाँ पे हम रहते हैं. उसके नीचे इंदस नदी है. Indus River bank is right below Sekmol. So we take them there, we sit under a tree, we talk about some interesting ideas and all that, and then we say, let's do a cleanup trek. So for the next 1 or 2 hours, we just walk around over there, and the river kind of curves over there, just outside Sekmol. So all the garbage that people throw into the river comes floating onto the riverbank over there, and it gets deposited. So I think last year or the year before that, we collected 18 jute bags of garbage in less than 1 hour. 18 bags, like itne bade bags we collected of plastic waste and rubbers and rubber waste and like chips packets and all these things. And then we asked the kids, now what can we do with this? Shall we burn this? So immediately they were like, nahi, it will leave toxins into the air. We can't do that. So can we bury this? If we bury it, then it will go leaching into the groundwater. So it will pollute the groundwater. So what can we do with it? So let's go to the garbage dump. And Ladakh has this garbage dump called Bomgat, which is behind it, hidden behind everything else. So tourists को दिखाई नहीं देता. So किसी housing colony के पीछे है. So we took them there. We took a bus over there, drove into the place, and said, okay, this is where you have to throw it now. And there you can see mounds and mounds of garbage being blown by the wind into the housing colony. So then the kids understood that their plastic packets of chips that they ate, this is where it's landing up. And somebody has to do that cleanup. And Ladakh does not have a waste management plant or anything like that.
Now it is
they're starting to, but it's not really there. I mean, it's not very effective. So imagine itne sara garbage jama ho raha hai, and there's nothing you can do about it really. So again, it helps them see that action. Unka action jo hai, chips kha liya, baat khatam ho gayi. But then you see the impact of that directly on somebody else. And we tell them, no, these are your friends. These are the people whose houses you're staying in. Would you want to leave them to deal with the garbage? That's not fair. So what would you like to do? So then they understand and like they make some commitments. Abhi hum nahi khayenge, we'll also reduce our own waste and things like that. So these are some of the like ways in which we've been trying to communicate.
Yeah, but over the years we've also tried to make these chips zero waste. So for example, we don't give them any packaged food. We give them fruits, we give them local juices, we give them plates, also steel plates, which they have to wash after they have done eating. So those are the kind of things that we've tried to keep in mind. Even with our local partners, they've had such a tough time adjusting to this because for them, the other companies that they work with, they give these fruity packets and straws and everything. And when we say we don't want that, just give eggs and boiled potatoes on a trek. We don't want any packaged food. They find it like so difficult that they feel that the participants will not enjoy it. But the participants on a trek find the most simplest boiled potato really tasty. So they are really enjoying it. And then now they've seen it for themselves and they've also started changing. So the local partners have also started making these changes for us. So we try to do that.
I think what you've discovered is if you are able to tell people the why behind an action, most people will buy into it. They need to understand why you're doing it. So that's really the big thing that we have. So I think Ashok is saying that we have 10 minutes left. In case people have questions and all that, I think we should leave this time for questions. Yeah. So yeah, if there's anything that anybody wants to ask, please feel free.
I feel like to go first. I would like to ask that does this Journeys with Meaning, does it is this an organization or like how your movement is functioning? It's like
so it's a social enterprise. We created a social enterprise. It's a business, but with a social cause in mind. And ideally, we feel that there should be no such difference. There should only be social enterprises. Because if you're saying that social enterprise and another enterprise which is not social, but look at it now, all enterprises are working towards or for society. So how can we say that it's an enterprise that does not think about society, does not think about environment? But unfortunately, that's how the system is designed correctly. So we've started a for-profit social enterprise, where we use our work to communicate to people that it's very important to protect your planet and live sustainably. But at the same time, we've designed it in a way which also we can run and earn our living through it, and we can live sustainably as well. And we welcome people to either travel with us or even intern with us, partner with us in many ways, collaborate with us, so that that ecosystem is constantly being strengthened through collaboration. So yeah, very much it's an organization that works with us. Yeah, so somebody is asking source of your finance, how do you manage? Good question. We've been completely self-funded. So we are not an NGO, so we don't receive any funding from anybody. We are not rich, so we couldn't actually pump in too much money into our end. So when I started Journeys with Meaning in 2007, the only money that I put in was 5,000 rupees to start the bank account. Actually, no, I didn't even have a bank account till 2015. So I just started it. And back then it was gift economy work. So in 2007-8 when I started doing so I would tell people 18 दिन का trip होता था, 4.5 days to reach Ladakh by road and train, 9 days in Ladakh and 4.5 days to come back to Bombay by road and train. And the whole trip would cost 18,000 rupees for your train travel, bus travel, accommodation, food, everything, right? For 18 days. And at the end of the trip, I would say, if you like my work, what I'm doing, I'm going to leave one box in the room. You can put in money into that. You can take money out of that. You can give me a hug. You can buy me a meal, whatever you want. And 4-5 साल मैंने ऐसे चलाया उसको. From 2008 to 12, I ran it like that. चल भी गया. I don't know how, but चल भी गया. And after that, I had some personal issues at home and all that. We didn't have money and all that. So I started charging for it. But what we do is on every trip, we keep, for every 10 people who pay the full cost and come, we take 3 to 4 people either at cost or we like subsidize it, we make it free for them, depending on the situation. So like we have a friend Kashi, who's our local partner in Ladakh. He's the guy we go to for setting up our trips in Ladakh. But when he wanted to go to Meghalaya, we said you just come. Like we know that you can't spend so much, so we'll just like have you, like you come with us and help us on the trip. Facilitate karo ya thoda trek संभाल लो जो भी है, but that way he was able to come and experience Meghalaya, which is the direct opposite of Ladakh. It's full of greenery, and so we try and do that. जहाँ पे भी subsidize किया जा सकता है, we try and do that so that it balances out that we don't want our trips to be inaccessible to people. So definitely we try and do that, and because we've been running it as a business, we try and keep some part of our money that we earn to creating new initiatives. So we have a bunch of initiatives that we are working on. So we try and bring some people on to work with us so that we can pay them for it, things like that. So that's the source of our finance. Some small herbs we can grow at our house in Mumbai. I think you can.
And mint and ajwain and curry leaves, curry pata, chili, tomatoes, basil, spinach, yeah.
Just planted beans 10-15 days ago, just in a way. It was this big 10 days ago, now it's like 6 feet tall. So literally in 10 days it's 6 feet tall. And we are shocked every day. Like, itna jaldi kaise badh gaya? And so these are all like things you don't even have to do any work.
Yeah.
Mint is also like you just plant it, it starts growing. Ajwain will take over your balcony.
Aloe vera.
Aloe vera. एक बार aloe vera को काट दिया आपने, it will just spout. It's like Ravan, one of those heads of Ravan.
It's like monstrous. I have some 7 pots of it now because every day new aloe vera plants are coming up.
हाँ, आपने सुना होगा ना रावण के मतलब एक पेड़ काट दिया तो और 2-3 उग जाते हैं वैसे ही. So you cut one aloe vera plant, not even a plant, one top of it, and it's suddenly like you have 3 more pots of it.
Oh, and also lemongrass grows very well in Bombay. Yeah.
So these are all like brilliant herbs to grow at home. Next question is, do you actively seek external facilitators for your trips? Absolutely, we do. So as you must have realized, we've been traveling to Ladakh for 13-14 years now.
Assam, Meghalaya
also for several years. Yeah. So one of the flip side is that people over there are really sick of looking at us right now. So we are trying to reduce our own, showing our face over there so much. हम मतलब साल में 4-5 बार चले जाते हैं Ladakh. So like even they are like bored of looking at us. So we actually have a facilitators training program where we train people on our philosophy of environmental education, so that people understand the way we approach it. It can be approached in many different ways, but as you've seen, we try and do it very experientially. We try and use very little difficult words, jargon, and even the science has to be made relatable to people so that they actually practice it. एक thing हमने सीखी है कि facts don't do the job. अगर सिर्फ facts होता, then the whole world should be a green place by now, because there's so many facts available every day in our newspapers. But it's still not. So we realize that experience is what changes people, not facts. So that's what we offer. And
so we do look out for facilitators.
So if any of you are interested, please reach out to us. We do the training programs now and then.
And once the journeys begin.
अभी तो सारा बंद है, but once they start, we'll definitely be looking out for people to travel with us and work with us. Yeah. Great. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
From how long are you doing this journey?
We journey since 2007, and I've been working on this in the space since 2000, since the year 2000. So about 20 years se kaam ho raha hai, and 13 years se trip ho raha hai. 13, 14 years.
So can we join your next
Travel
travel?
Incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we start traveling, we'll be announcing it. You can, feel free to join
So
us.
we announce them usually on our social media page, so Facebook or Instagram is where we, and our like emailers used to say, people who sign up with us, we send them an email every time we announce a trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how. It's called Journeys with Meaning on Facebook and on Instagram.
And I just type it out there. So
yeah.
You can just answer the question.
Yeah, and there's how many journeys do you want to take every year? We've been doing around 7 journeys. Yeah, 7 was the maximum that we've done. But now we've moved our focus from adult programs to school trips. So we do more of school programs, and we take like these young adults, so like 10th, 11th, 12th standard students. Actually, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th standard students.
Yeah.
Apart from Ladakh and Meghalaya, do you plan? Yes. So we do Kashmir, we do Assam. We also want to do something in Goa now because we know of a lot of responsible travel companies here, and we want to collaborate with them and do some experiential learning journeys in Goa. Yeah.
And yes, we do follow up with our participants. Many of them stay in touch with us following the trip. So that's been one of the best parts. And we encourage that. We also like to, we don't like to treat it as a transactional thing. Ki ek baar aa gaye, baat khatam ho gayi. We continue working with it, right? And seeing how we seeing travel in the pandemic, it's not happening. Not for the next 6 months at least. No travel will be happening, and we'll only start after all that once it gets safe.
Yeah, but we're trying to come up with new ways to reach out to our people.
Yeah. At least till the pandemic gets thing. And much love to all of you
Yeah,
as well. We'll see you back in the breakout room.
Yeah.